Good evening, everybody. Ashtanga is very happy to welcome you all to the webinar series, which is today is the 15th webinar. We have with us here Dr. Arun Bhanu. So today's topic is the senior's gut. Often we hear people around us, especially elders, complaining about their digestive health. Indigestion, constipation, diarrhea are quite common. So let's find out on how Ayurveda helps manage constipation and other gut-related issues. So with that, I'm very happy to introduce Dr. Arun Bhanu to our esteemed audience. Dr. Arun Bhanu K, senior researcher, TDU based in Bangalore, completed his graduation from Government Ayurveda College, Pariyaram. Currently working as a senior research fellow in the University of Transdisciplinary Health Sciences and Technology in Center for Ayurveda Biology and Holistic Nutrition, Bangalore. He has participated in many seminars and workshops and presented papers, actively participated and helped in conducting various medical camps in remote villages, including those who were the victims of endosulfan and an active volunteer in NSS as well. Dr. Arun Bhanu K has worked in Hauma Wellness Orthopedic Clinic as duty doctor, deputed to neurosurgery, and worked as night duty doctor, cover-up duty doctor at IIM Healthcare, Bangalore, and physician at Ayur Kalakshetra, Chhatarpur, New Delhi. We are glad to have him as the speaker for this webinar to share his experience and guide us on a very systematic approach in improving gut health for older people. So I would also like to add that I have been happily associated with Dr. Arun Bhanu since my days in IIM Healthcare. So we've been quite close from that time. Dr. Arun Bhanu, welcome. Please take over.
Very good evening to all. I myself, Dr. Arun, and I really thank Ashtanga and the whole team of Ashtanga, especially Dr. Girish, for giving me such a wonderful opportunity to give a small talk regarding seniors gut and all these things. So I would like to start with some slides so that I can explain along with that as well. So please, the host is disabled my screen sharing. Yeah. So I hope everybody can see the slide.
Yes.
Thank you. So as a starting point, what is digestion? It's literally what digestion is. It's a breaking down of large insoluble food materials. Solubility measures to absorption kind of level, and cutting down that large molecules into slower molecules so that they can be absorbed into the bloodstream. Why I highlighted absorbed? Because this absorption is really important to maintain the health. So digestion is what which is the key role in maintaining one's health. So why I selected the seniors gut? When often we for the youth people and all, it won't be a serious issue for them to have indigestion because they are used to roam around, have food from outside, and their gut is relatively more or less active, or will be able to manage the indigestion things and to great extent than the senior people. Senior here, what I meant is above 60-65. Okay. And those who below 60 are also can have a look at it, because most of 99% of the population in the whole world globally are affected by indigestion. There will be hardly a few people will be experienced that gas formation, bloating sensation, flatulence, and so on. So coming to the next slide, what is digestion according to Ayurveda? With the help of Agni, that means the digestive fire, the ingested material is transformed into nutrients, which then gets absorbed by the body. The process is termed as pachana. Pachana means, as in Malayalam we say, pachakam cheyega, like the cooking which is happening inside the body, which is called the digestion or pachana as per Ayurveda, which is a Sanskrit term. And what is Agni? An entity that is responsible for digestive and metabolic processes. Agni is nothing but the fire. The pictorial representation is clearly mentions that there is a fire in your stomach. That means that kind of fire is required in forms of digestive enzymes and the gastric juice and all, and the several chemical neurotransmitters and every associated things to break down the food material what we ingest and then to get absorbed by the body. And thus thereby, whenever there is indigestion or anything, we first look into the strength of Agni. How is the digestion is what we always speak. And here comes the problem. When the problem starts, as the age advances, the motility of the gut decreases, thereby taking longer time to complete the process of digestion, often referred as the inefficiency of digesting food by the elderly. This is often comes like a kind of offensive statement, but still, as the age advances, there will be some inability will happen, or the muscle weakness or something will happen in the gut, so that there won't be the speed of eating will reduce, the hunger will reduce, the bowel movement will reduce, all together will lead to sort of indigestion. It is not just an inefficiency, but decreased efficiency, though our body is just like a machine which is tend to decrease its efficiency if we don't take care of it properly. And there will be a lot of issues with the altered digestive health. What all can be that? The pictorial representation is also saying a lot of things along with the dotted points. Abdominal pain will be there, infrequent bowel movement will be there, there will be bloating, more stress will be there, lethargy is there, subdued well-being, low mood, emotional stress, everything will be there, nausea, flatulence, and diarrhea. Such things all will happen along with that. And common, there will be, as I discussed before, there will be a lot of other issues as well along with this. You just name it, they will have that. There will be some common digestive disorders in elderly which is happening. They are like esophageal dysphagia, GERD or GORD, that means gastroesophageal reflux disease, or and pill esophagitis, that means medication include induced esophagitis, chronic atrophic gastritis, peptic ulcer disease, celiac disease, irritable bowel syndrome. Though there will be so many beautiful literature names which are given, all will lead to as the pictorial representation, there will be stomach pain, heartburn, stomatitis, headache, all related things. Now I would like to say a few words regarding all these things, regarding each of the heading. Though this will be a very limited thing, there will be much more than this. What is esophageal dysphagia? That means it is commonly manifested as the feeling of food being stuck in the chest. That means it's kind of temporary choking kind of sensation people will get, which usually related with the gut motility, means the mobility, that muscle ability will tend to reduce. And there comes the very common, which we usually get in the clinic very often. There is no age limitation for this GERD, often called as GORD, also GORD, gastroesophageal reflux disease. That means the acid reflux usually happens, and it will keep coming to the buccal cavity, which in turn will cause a lot of disturbance. Even there will be even that is sufficient to ruin the whole day activity also, because there won't be proper digestion, people can't eat anything. Always there will be a feeling of the fire is coming out. People often complains us when they exhale, they usually get, there will be heat coming up from the food pipe. That kind of experience also people used to explain in the clinic as a regular complaint. Next is the pill esophagitis. This is very common in our elderly population, because nowadays it's there will be hardly some people will be remaining as they haven't taken any medicine for their lifetime, because as the age advances they will be attacked by diabetes, cardiac issues, hypertension, and so on. Dyslipidemia, that means cholesterol related issues and all. These all people are tend to have a bunch of medicines, whether it is Ayurveda, allopathy, homeopathy, whatsoever. And this in turn lead to stomach irritation, and that itself will just scratch the walls of intestine, stomach, mucosal layer will be, mucosal erosion will happen as as a result of long-term use of these medicated pills, which is referred as pill esophagitis. And next comes chronic atrophic gastritis. So this is more prevalent in elderly and is associated with H. pylori infection. That means we always, whenever there is a gastritis or stomach pain or any related issues, we always see the culprit is H. pylori. That means Helicobacter pylori. This is a bacterium which is always there in the gut, which is a necessary factor of gut microbiome as well. But when it exceeds in number, when it overpowers the immunity, which is our territorial army, we can say that when it overpowers that, it started eating the gut. So this lead to chronic ulceration in the gut or intestine, stomach, everywhere. That will lead to chronic atrophic gastritis, which is very common in the elderly population because of compromised immunity. Then comes the very common thing, peptic ulcer disease. After eating food, which we will say after eating the food, people tend to have pain after somewhere about half an hour, which in Ayurveda we say the parinama shula, because the area of pain or the ulcer which happened in the duodenum, which is the part of small intestine, which is often referred as peptic ulcer disease, and which is a common, the common culprit is of course H. pylori. Next comes the celiac disease, which is a chronic systemic autoimmune disease. What celiac disease is, that affects genetically predisposed individuals secondary to exposure to dietary gluten protein, that gluten allergy and all the things which will related to the celiac disease. Next comes IBS, which is called the irritable bowel syndrome, which is very common, very common. People nowadays, it's a very common word. Even in sitting in clinic itself, we used to get like that, oh doctor, I got IBS is what I suspect. So that much popularity this IBS is gained. Even very 99% of population are aware about this irritable bowel syndrome, because many people at least once in their lifetime will tend to have this kind of symptoms in their life. And irritable bowel syndrome is also another sort of kind of dilemma to the clinicians, which is little bit difficult for us to overcome or to treat. And it's a functional gastrointestinal disorder is what we say, because whenever they consume food, a moment they feel like going to washroom, because the frequency of going to toilet will be like after every meal they will feel like going to toilet, that kind of thing. This is very brief elaboration which is enlisted over here. There are many more related to gut issues, because gut is the door to the health, because when your digestion is proper, there will be no more worry about the health regarded aspect, because all the body related protein, every nutrients, everything are a byproduct or the product of digestion. So let me ask you, why this kind of issue is happening more in the elderly population? There will be first the degenerative changes, which is always washing hand mechanism. Whenever they ask why I'm getting this, yeah, your age is the factor. That is how we usually just hide ourselves from the furthermore questions. So of course it plays a major role in this gut related health. Why this degenerative changes happening so early, or even our, we can say our previous generations and all were having less prone to digestive disorders, or I can say they were more healthier. They were very rarely they complain about their stomach is not good, because their lifestyle is like that. They were more prone to, more habitual to natural foods than junk. The pictorial representation itself is there is a clear divide what we are eating right now, what we have to eat, because the here the this burger kind of things and all are coming, like, which is literally ruining our health. Next comes the age. Age, of course, it's a matter, but does not matter every time. Why? Because we are making our own ditch by eating so much junk food and improper, which I will be coming to the next point, and as well irregular diet habits, and all things will club together, which by we usually see a 20-year-old boy is having severe stomach pain, 25-year-old boy or girl are having severe loose motions, IBS related issues, which are nowadays getting common. And physical as well as mental stress. Now this post-COVID situation, many people are into extreme stress, especially those who are working with this work from home thing and all are highly stressed. Before they were going to office, they had a schedule, and from Monday to Friday or Monday to Saturday, from 9 to 5 or at least 9 to 6 kind of schedule there were there. Now that is not the case. You are virtually available everywhere and you have to present 24/7. That is a situation nowadays happening with most of the most of the community of technically working community, that IT related people and all, because they are completely stressed. They will keep food and water on their bench. They forgot to consume it because they keep working. That in turn will lead to lot of erosion in the mucosa. And here comes the suppression of urge. Again, it's a byproduct of physical as well as mental stress. Many people are even forgetting to drink water. They are not going to urinate as well. So in turn, this all will keep the entire body more acidic. This acidity will cause more and more erosion. They will feel more heat in the body. There will be more toxic accumulation in the body, which in turn lead to a lot of stress, especially on liver. Improper sleep habit, this all will happen. Then how the sleep will be better? Sleep will be gone, kind of hardly they will get any sleep. And use of more incompatible food, which I meant by viruddha ahara. Now a common example is there, this shawarma, or the most common example is puffs, veg puffs, what non-veg puff, whatever puff it is, paneer puff, which is a most common example of incompatible food. The maida which they use, it's baked with oil which is already cooked. One masala which is already cooked will be stuffed inside, it will be baked again. That kind of transformation keep happening will turn into a typical viruddhahara in front of your table. When you order a puff from a bakery or a snack shop, you just remind yourself that the typical viruddhahara is on the table. So we can go back to the slides. You will be tend to have all those symptoms which I have mentioned by the bullet points. And there is a lot to say from the Ayurveda side, ajirna. And even we usually get commonly, whatever the issues we'll get in the clinic, we will say, ask for the status of digestion. We will ask, how is your digestion? How do you feel about your digestion? Are you feeling proper appetite? Are you feeling proper defecation reflex? Are your bowel emptying properly? That means the aforesaid factors will lead to irregularity or imbalance in the tridosha. So Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. I think some of you people are aware about what is Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, at least little bit. The Ayurveda, three humors. Humors as in these are the three pillars of Ayurveda theories, which the balance of these things will lead to a healthy individual or a healthy life. The imbalance of this thing will lead to unhealthy tissue development. That means irregular dhatu agni. Means somebody is supposed to have some food and they are highly stressed and they are having this imbalanced vata, pitta, and kapha, which in turn lead to improper agni, which I have mentioned, which is a literally fire thing, which require for us to digest all the food materials or the breakdown of food materials. There will be, suppose you had rice and sambar. The sambar digested, rice is still there. What will be the result? It will occupy the space that people won't be able to eat further anything. That will in turn lead to overall health deterioration, which in turn result in early degenerative changes or unhealthy digestive system as a result of ajirna. Ajirna means improper digestion. So why this is happening? Because of irregular food habits, irregular sleeping pattern, irregular work pattern, the lifestyle changes, all will be leading to irregularity in the dhatu agni. Especially that agni has to be considered very enthusiastically or very properly. Otherwise, this agni, if it is not proper, the breakdown of particles will not happen, absorption will not happen in the blood. There won't be nutrients. When there is no nutrients are getting, cell will tend to lose their ability to work, so they will start dying. This dying is what called a degeneration. So early aging will happen. So you need not to be an elderly person to have all these things. So 60 plus will not matter, but in more than that, within 20 itself, people are getting this kind of digestive aging or gut aging will happen much earlier if you don't take care of yourself. And how to identify the issues and when to seek help, which is more important. Many people doesn't understand, oh, I'm having just an indigestion, so I need not to take anything, so I will try to manage with some home remedies. There are ginger in my house, there is turmeric, so I will add 2-3 spoons of turmeric in my daily diet, and I will add 1 bucket full of milk and another big spoon of turmeric into it, and I will make a golden milk, a bucket full of golden milk. I will have it every day. My immunity will be more, my this and will happen. But just come with me, I will show you some example. There will be loss of appetite. Loss of appetite is a very common thing. I'm not feeling like eating anything today, so I will take fast. Okay, fine, you can fast. And there will be this loss of appetite is having a lot of significance. When it is for one day, you need not to worry. But if it is a prolonged loss of appetite of more than 3 days, that is the point you definitely need to seek a medical help. And there will be, if there is any recurrent constipation or diarrhea. So improper bowel movements or continuous bowel movements, when it continuously happening for more than 2 days, is definitely a matter of concern, has to seek a medical help. And the next coming thing is very important at this corona age, because metallic taste is considered to be a very significant factor of COVID infection as well. But usually it won't happen like that. metallic taste and bitterness in mouth. That improper salivary secretion will lead to a dryness of mouth, which in turn causes this kind of issues. And severe heartburns, lethargy, feel fatigue, no energy to do anything, excess thirst or difficulty in drinking water, that I mentioned in the previous slide itself, esophageal dysphagia, unable to consume food. This will coming under this excess thirst or difficulty in drinking water. Sleeplessness, of course, it is a matter of concern. All this sleeplessness thing, rather taking a sleeping pill, try to identify if there is any stomach related or digestive related issue. If it is there, try to correct it first, then can take a call on consuming any sleeping pill. And flatulence or blotting sensation, not just for 1 or 2 days. If it is continuously getting for more than a week or so, is to be considered of a condition of severe indigestion, and definitely identify this as a health problem, then try to seek medical help. Of all these things, there is no harm in practicing any sort of home remedies which really will help. But even after home remedial measures, if it is not helping, try to seek medical attention. So here comes some interesting factors which I can say a small diet chart. There will be a solution. I'm just talking about some problems. So how can we make it into more convenient thing so that one can practice a healthy diet, which in turn will help in maintaining a proper digestive health. So here I have given a chart of particular season wise. Ayurveda explains about 6 seasons, and I have mentioned the monthly classification as well, which and all month on a pan India basis, and what all kind of food are advised and which are not supposed to consume. So in this aspect, you can see there will be just we'll consider about this month. This is March, which is called as the Shishira. This season, which we advise people to take wheat, jowar, snake gourd, amaranthus, pumpkin, apricot, walnut, date, almond, and still the list go on. You can concentrate on this list as well, and you should mainly concentrate on the reduce intake column. There will be pearl millet, ragi, barley, horse gram, papaya. Just see, all these things are slightly heat producing. So this is the summer season almost starting. Shishira is kind of little bit summer starting season. So medium cold, I can say moderately heat kind of food which is advised to consume. Barley, if you consume more, that will induce more coldness in the body, and that in turn will cause little bit respiratory related issues, just kind of I can say sneezing kind of thing and all. And likewise rice, of course, most of the people are habitual to consume, so that rice and all are kind of our staple food, especially in the south. It is the staple food. Rice is always advised to consume. And those who require this chart, I can share this chart in the last concluding session of this webinar. I can share.
Okay.
Coming to the next slide. Nature's friends of human gut. Just see, you can kindly go through the chart. Those who are strictly vegetarian, vegan and all can avoid the 4th column and 5th column as well. And there will be fruits which is believed to be, or which are considered to be the friends of human gut. Of course, apple, avocado, blueberry, kiwi, papaya, peach, banana, muskmelon, watermelon, and so on. And kiwi may not be suitable for everyone, but still people can have it though on a regular basis. When there is so much acid reflux kind of thing, I really advise people to stay away from kiwi as well as banana. And stay away doesn't mean completely stopping, but they can consume it on a medium or a restricted amount. And among vegetables, carrot, tomato, which is less sour, beetroot, cucumber, ginger, garlic, sweet potato, spinach, Brussels sprout, broccoli, peppermint, kidney bean, all these things can be considered as good vegetables which provide more health towards the human gut. Among cereals, oats, quinoa, barley, red rice, ragi, all the things are considered to be more friendly to the human intestine gut. Among meat, red meat is very difficult to digest. So red meat, I don't really prefer for people to consume. So main of fish and meat of quail is what is considered to be easily digestible. To be frank, it is the white meat. These all are the white meat. Salmon is little bit towards the red meat, and sardine, pomfret. Sardine is nothing but our matti variety of fish. Pomfret, anchovy, that nattoli fish, quail, or that kada kori. That meat is really helpful in maintaining a gut health. And there will be a lot of other products as well: yogurt, chia seeds, kombucha, kefir, tempeh, miso, coconut oil, coriander, cumin seed powder, buttermilk. All these things are really helping for the human gut health. I will be coming towards the terms of kefir, tempeh, miso, kombucha. These are coming under probiotic. That's why deliberately I put those names over here. I will be discussing about them in the coming slides. So there will be a small solution. Kitchen should be our immediate pharmacy. So I said in the previous slide, whenever there will be some identifying factors which are meant to be of, I can say, having some issues with the digestive tract, and when we need to seek a help. So before seeking a medically qualified person's help, you can try these things in your kitchen. Even after it is not reducing, then can seek the help of a medically qualified person. So there is some 5-6 recipes which you can try in your kitchen, which will be: buttermilk can be boiled with asafoetida, turmeric, ginger, black pepper, and rock salt. Chewing mango leaves and neem leaves together before brushing the teeth, which is having highly antimicrobial effect, which even capable of killing that H. pylori bacteria as well. Consumption of honey and turmeric. 1 spoon of honey mixed with 2 or 3 pinches of turmeric and consumed daily 2 or 3 times will reduce most of the indigestion which happened in the stomach. And honey water prepared with onion and black pepper powder. So in 1 glass of water, 1 or 2 spoons of pure honey, they are just agitate well or just mix well, and chopped onions to be added with it. Keep it for a while, and just sprinkle 2 or 3 pinches of black pepper powder and consume it. And another one is a puffed rice porridge. Those who are experiencing severe anorexia, that means lack of or loss of appetite, can try that. A puffed rice, we say in puri in Malayalam, mandaki in Kannada, and that can be used as a material to prepare gruel or kanji, and that can be consumed by adding little bit black pepper and salt. Ginger tea with coriander seeds and coriander seed, jeera and jaggery will be soothing material for stomach, which will help in digestion. Coming to the probiotics, which I have been mentioning in the 2 slides previous to this, is kombucha, kefir, buttermilk, miso, tempeh, and all are coming under the category of probiotic. So doctor for digestion. So these are kind of gut microbiome friends, which are fermented tea is called as kombucha. So here you can see kombucha. It's a very leading industry in India. In Western, this is taking its fame. So these probiotics are supposed to be very friendly to the gut microbiome, which in turn almost all sort of indigestion will be relieved by, or indigestion will be reduced by consumption of this kombucha related consuming kombucha kind of thing will be helping in reducing acid reflux kind of issues. And it is very crucial to take care of gut microbiota and at any cost to maintain the digestive health. There comes the concept of probiotic food, which keep the microbiota active and healthy. So our yogurt, kefir, miso, tempeh, etc. will improve the gut health. And if there is any further information regarding this probiotics required, in fact, kombucha, kefir, miso, and all the things, I can share some details after this session. And yeah, I'm getting some questions over here. Yeah, I will answer all these questions after finishing this slide. One more last slide, which is very.
Dr. Arun.
Yeah.
What we can do is at the end of the session, I can read out the questions to you so that you can answer one by one.
Yes, of course, sure. So this is the last slide. Almost we are going to the conclusion. So we are eating food. Are we eating in a proper way? Of all these issues related thing, only one place I mentioned about mental stress. So our thought process of eating food is really important to maintain the gut health. Food ingested is a reflection of our thoughts while we consuming it. Even the most healthy food, if consumed with negative thoughts, can turn poisonous. Similarly, even poison can be turned into nectar by showing gratitude towards it while consumption. So Ashtanga Hridaya says, Tanmana Bhojana Gadaha Chitta. That means concentrating one's mind on the food while eating, what we think while eating, positive or negative, how thankful we are for the food, what we eat impacts our psychology, impacts on our psychology, and also affects our digestion. So the mind when we are eating is really very important apart from all these factors. So coming to the conclusion, digestion is an integral part of a healthy and happy living. Hence, maintaining digestive balance is of prime concern. That being said, consistent maintenance of good food habits and regular exercise is extremely essential in maintaining an equilibrium of doshas, which in turn will aid in conserving optimum digestive health. So, as a conclusion, our mental, physical well-being is more important along with the quality of food what we take. So whether you are elderly or a young age, which is much more important what you eat, and which will define you about which will define your gut health. So here comes the slide. Thank you. Thanks for all. Thanks for everyone listening very patiently. So I prefer taking the question and answer sessions. Can I stop sharing, Dr. Girish?
Yes, Dr. Arun, thank you. It was a wonderful session from your side. We
you.
can go to the question answer session, but before that, I would ask Mr. T.S. Shashivaryan, the Executive Director of Ashtanga, to give a small introduction to KS Warriors Ashtanga Ayurvedics.
Thank you very much, Dr. Girish Warrier. It has been a wonderful session listening to you, Dr. Arun Bhanu.
Thank you.
Thank you for that wonderful session. So this is a short introduction about KS Warriors Ashtanga Ayurvedics Private Limited for all those people who are not, who have not been following us. So KS Warriors Ashtanga Ayurvedics Private Limited was made a company, that is private limited company, in the year 1999. But before that, it has a history starting from 1936. Our founder, my grandfather, I'm proud to say, that he started this industry in 1936 after his completing his education in 1933, and he came down to Trichy and started this institution. So with a kitchen as his medicinal area, manufacturing area, he started his company, and today we have grown to a big level. My grandfather studied in Kottakkal and later on practiced in Trichy all his life. So he has been practicing till the age of 82. He passed away at the age of 84 in the year 1990 when Girish was born. So KS Warrior was a doyen in the industry. He has been well known in the industry. People knew him as a very human person who was very happy to interact with people and give them the best that he could give. And today we manufacture from his whatever he has given us. We manufacture about 300 and more products in our company. We have 6 doctors in our panel, and we work as clinicians as well as manufacturers. So we have been supplying medicines to Kerala, Karnataka, as well as Tamil Nadu, and many other places where we send medicines through the internet. So we have been active on the online market also. So this is a very short introduction. Our MD is here. Our medical superintendent is also here. They will also be sharing a bit of information about KS Warriors Ashtanga. So thank you, Dr. Girish. Over to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So I would also ask our MD, Mr. TVS Warrior, to kindly put in a few words.
Carry on.
Okay. I would also ask our senior most and our medical superintendent, Dr. TVN Warrior, to put in a few words.
Good evening, Dr. Arun. Hello.
Good evening, sir. I can hear you. I can hear you.
Very nice presentation. But at the same time, I have just one doubt in it.
Yes, sir.
You have told that horse gram can be used in that is April, May.
Yes.
See, Ushna Kulatha Bhage Amla.
Yes, sir.
So how can it be used in the summer or Grishma Ritu?
That is it is like horse gram. I haven't written in the Grishma. If you can see that chart once again, I can just share that chart once again. If you can see,
I think it is April, May.
April, May, it is written as Vasanta Ritu. As Vasanta Ritu is Vasanta Ritu. Yeah. Vasanta Ritu is mentioned. Diet advised. It is in the form of just sprouts is what practically this is a chart which I have I got inspired from that Dr. Ramesh Nanal, who is a Marathi author. From his diet chart I have taken it, and he mentioned it as a kind of sprouts which we use if horse gram that can be used.
No, it may be also based on the climate of each place, I guess.
Yes, that also is there, but preferably like to a little bit, I can say limited quantity of sprouts in a steamed way and all can be used.
Okay.
So in Grishma Ritu, it is highly contraindicated because Kulato Amla Pitta Janananam, that is not good for our intestine as well.
Actually, we generally in Kerala we generally don't use this horse gram in this time.
Yes.
April, May.
Yes, sir. April, May, if we
November,
use in Kerala. Yeah. In April, May, if we use the peak summer in Kerala at least, then that will really harm our intestine probably.
Okay. Right. So at the same time, that is the gut problems you have told that about that diarrhea or constipation.
Yes.
What will happen if we stop that diarrhea? That is with sudden some full stop, immediate medicines.
That's
Stambhana.
why Stambhana is not at all advised, because I mentioned a small timeline over there. When it is prolonged for more than 2 or 3 days, then it has to be stopped. Whenever there is foreign diarrhea, whenever there is ama visha or something is there, it has to go. That after moving that, when the person feels too much of lethargic or unconscious kind of feeling, then only we will start off doing any Stambhana measures. Otherwise, if it is near about 5, 6 times or 7 times of moderately loose stool, there is no need of Stambhana measures to be taken immediately.
Okay.
Immediately.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So, Dr. Arun, can we move on to the question and answer session?
Yes, definitely.
Sure. So the first question is, good evening, doctor. Is gluten related issue very common in India?
It's not very common in India, but hardly few people we usually get with the gluten intolerance and the lactose intolerance. And why I mentioned in that slide, because there will be gluten related one slide was there. Why I mentioned, because hardly that data I collected from a British journal. That British journal, they say globally this many people are suffering from gluten intolerance, which is compared to the global population, it is a valid, it is statistically significant. But in India, even though the wheat consuming population is more or less limited to the North India, but still I need to take care of that kind of, I need to include that kind of people also into this kind of topic, because we are now started getting gluten intolerance people also in our clinic.
Okay. So the next question is also, doctor, is IBS and Crohn's disease mentioned in Ayurveda? If so, can it be managed?
IBS and Crohn's disease, as it is not mentioned in Ayurveda, but this is coming under a common umbrella called Grahani. So this Grahani related issue can be managed through Ayurveda, but Crohn's disease, if we go through the pathology, which is not so easily manageable, but IBS for sure can be managed very well. Am I audible to you, Dr. Girish?
I think he is gone out.
Some
Okay.
issue.
So let me ask you the next question. The next question that is there in
do we need to
Dr. Sadashiv Nagare has asked, do we need to think about probiotics for seniors? I think you have already answered
I have
that
already
question.
I have already covered that.
Yes.
Slide.
This question came before your presentation of that slide.
Yes, I understood that.
So the next question is, my daughter aged 25 feels very sleepy as soon as she has food. So she avoids eating if she has work. Then when work is done, she is ravenous and eats and immediately sleeping.
Okay. So which area to be addressed is at the age of 25, there is, I mentioned that work from home thing. So when they are completely involved with work, their complete attention is not going to food at all. So that is their tendency, that if they the fear of losing concentration in work, they tend to avoid food during the work. But when work is done, after the work, the gut will remind that, yeah, you are having you missed something, which is of course food. You have to eat enormously. Then after filling the gut like anything, they will definitely will tend to sleep, because almost all energy has been gone to the brain work when that girl is working. And after that, when the gut is completely filled, there is no energy for the body to do other activity than digesting this very huge amount of food. So definitely they will tend to sleep, which is a very bad habit, and that is later on can lead to a lot of stomach digestive issues, system related complications, which can even go up to hemorrhoid kind of issue as well. And in this aspect, I always prefer her to consume some sort of small vegetable salad kind of thing, just for snacking kind of thing. Vegetable salad can be kept aside, whichever the area where she is working, and just do it like a snacking kind of thing, other than going to any sort of snacks or just any aerated drinks. Girish is muted. I think Dr. Girish is muted.
Yeah, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, thank you, doctor. So the next question is, how do we understand when to take an antacid and when to take a medicine which improves digestion?
Antacid is is usually people starting with antacid because it is considered to be whenever there is acid reflux, an antacid to be given. That is the common idea of people who are having this heartburn kind of thing or any sort of gastric reflux. So when to take an antacid and when to take a medicine, that is a very confusing question, because even the antacid is also considered as a medicine. When my genuine advice is that don't go for both, as you have so many plenty of home remedies in kitchen. Try with that. If it is not reducing, take a medicine rather taking an antacid.
I would like to put some words here, doctor.
Yes, sure, please.
This confusion is usually because in the allopathic system, you have two different medications for both. Now in Ayurveda,
Yes.
most of the antacids is actually Dipaniya Dravyas.
Yes.
It is also going to improve your digestion, even if it works as an antacid. So it is not going to harm you. It is not going to be a proton pump inhibitor, wherein the hydrogen ion is completely stopped in your HCl secretion in the stomach, thereby creating lesser digestion. Ayurveda does not work that way. For example, if you go for medicines like Pravala Basma or Shankapasma, it does not do that action. It actually helps in an immediate relief kind of a way for the extra acidity. The wound healing property is there because of that. But at the same time, it is a Deepana Pachana. So it will help in digestion as well. So in Ayurveda, there is no separation between an antacid and a Deepana Pachana Dravya. But of course, we have Deepana Pachana Dravya separately, other than antacids. But antacids in Ayurveda also are Deepana and Pachana.
Deepana and Pachana. Thank you, Dr. Girish, for giving your hand of support.
I just wanted to add. Okay, there was another question. I'd like to ask the same as Shashi as well. I know someone who gets sleepy after eating and does not feel like doing anything. Is that serious or dangerous?
So there are 2-3 variants of this question. There are people who are working since morning to the afternoon. Probably this question is not related to breakfast, I believe, because very rarely people will get sleep after taking breakfast. So with lunch and dinner, this is a common phenomenon. After eating, people get sleepy. Why it is happening? Because one thing is, when people started consuming, especially for the lunch, there will be more rice related rice products. Serotonin from the brain will tend to produce more. So this serotonin will induce little bit sleep. That is one phenomenon. And the other thing is, when there is so much of exertion to the body happen, people will tend to the body will tend to concentrate on this digestion alone. So all muscle will tend to relax and people will feel sleepy. And when this issue is continuously happen, even after doing regular work means not so exerting. Regular work, if a person immediately after eating and all getting so much sleepy, and they will tend to sleep and all will on longer run will be little bit dangerous in terms of not just with digestive system, there will be other systemic disease as well. For example, with some, I can say, liver related stress, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which is very common, NAFLD, can be happen due to continuously having this thing. At this case also, if they immediately or just gradually approach a physician or just start with some diet changes, will help in maintaining, will help in regulating this immediately, regulating this sleeping pattern immediately after food. I can share the chat.
Unmute. Girish, unmute.
Yeah. So can you share the chat with all of us?
Yes. I will share the complete chart with Dr. Girish, so that Dr. Girish can share all the chat with, or can I share?
Can you share a screenshot or something like that, so that
I can share the complete presentation as a file in this chat
that
box.
would be great. That would be great. You can share it as a PDF, doctor, so that no editings can be done.
Okay, fine.
You asked to stay away from banana when we have acid reflux, but it is commonly talked about that banana is good for acidity. Please explain.
This is a very confusing question. Banana, there will be, especially in Kerala, there will be very wide variety of banana available. I'm particularly talking about the robust or that green banana, which is very commonly used in Karnataka, North India, everywhere. So the banana which what we are getting or commonly getting is having a lot of potassium in it. And now it is little bit acid forming because of the manner which they use. The chemical fertilizer, which in turn will be absorbed by the banana, which is that 1818 complex, and so much chemical fertilizers are using to produce this banana in bigger size. And that in turn, immediately after eating itself, we can feel the taste difference in the mouth. And we are getting a lot of cases with the similar issues. People are getting more acid reflux after consuming banana, which is not, there is no scientific or any paper to back up this data, but it is from the experience which I have put. I got around 60-70 people saying the similar symptoms.
Doctor, thank you so much. So the next question is, why elderly people eating more than adequate food above 80 plus?
So that is that depends on people. I really don't understand the objective of that question.
I think that is more based on the person to person thing. What we have generally seen in common practice would be the reduction of food. They take less and less food and they become weaker and weaker. So we might be seeing the opposite as well in practice. So maybe that is based on that. So I don't think we have a fixed answer for this. So,
Yeah.
doctor, can I move on to the next question?
Yes, of course. Sure, sure.
What is the cause for absence of bowel movement more than 3 months in non-diabetic patient?
Absence of bowel movements more than 3 months in non-diabetic patient, that is that can happen due to the muscle weakness. Non-diabetic, as they specified, I prefer the age group will be, as I suggested, more than 60 plus, which we are dealing with right now. In such people, the muscle weakness could be the major reason for reduced bowel movements. And if there is any other systemic disease than diabetes, like I usually see that this non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, people are having this kind of issue. And there will be people are having with the interstitial lung disease, ILD, are having similar conditions I have observed. And of course, any chronic hemorrhoid related issue, fissure related issue, and all are having this kind of absence of bowel movements. Usually these all are associated with extreme dehydration from the body. Though they will consume sufficient quantity of water, the body is not absorbing the water because of there is improper portal circulation. The portal circulation may not be proper to absorb the water content. That in turn will lead to reduced stool formation will be a little bit compromised, and in turn it will cause this absence of bowel movements for about more than 3 months is little bit chronic, and that need to have immediate bowel evacuation by some suction methods and everything will be required, or some laxative therapy will be required, or enema kind of therapy will be required to relieve that stress. And continuously for more than 3 days to 5 days thing could be the other systemic disease as well. I think I have answered the question a little bit clearly.
Yes, doctor. So the next question is, some people in poverty, more or less, doesn't always have access to quality food. Does this mean that they are more prone to digestive problems, or is it a matter of adapting to the situation or environment in their part?
No, poverty also will play a major role, because most of the if a person who is earning near hardly 150 rupees per day, if we ask them to consume millet and kiwi fruit on a daily basis, he will rather say, I will die as a poor rather eating those things, because his daily earning won't be sufficient for meeting such quality food. But in that case also, there are very proper diet which they can also follow, which I can say the regular that puffed rice thing and all are really cheaper in that aspect. If they can practice as one meal of puffed rice, and regular food they can consume, and include daily buttermilk in their food, which is quite cheaper in that aspect also. But poverty is will cause digestive issues for sure, because they will starve more of the most of the time. They will not have access to nutrient food, which in turn lead to deficiency syndromes, rather digestive diseases. It's not that doesn't mean that they are more prone to digestive problems, but they are having more lenience towards other systemic disease, deficiency disease, to be frank.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, doctor. Thank you. So I would also like to add to everybody that the link for the feedback is given in the chat box. You may please click on the link and give a feedback for getting certificates. I have some comments here. A simple, vivid presentation. Kudos to your efforts in giving
Thank
us a
you.
wonderful session.
Thank you.
Excellent,
Thanks a lot.
informative session. Thank you, doctor. Very nice session. Very informative. A very good session. Thank you, Dr. Arun, for your simple explanations. Thank you, organizers. here in North India, Ayurveda doctors advise against fermented foods, especially for Vata people.
Fermented foods
I think
are
the
sorry, Dr. Girish, I couldn't hear you properly.
I think the question is here in North India, Ayurveda doctors advise against fermented foods, especially for Vata people. So is it right or something like that?
Yeah, it is right in a very crude way. Fermented foods as in there will be our tangalanna or this fermented rice, kulutta, padanganyi kind of things are there. That is coming under a fermented food. I meant about controlled fermented food, which is probiotic. This fermented food can be more of alcohol based thing. Maybe I think that, and this vinegar added food, all these things will come under fermented foods, and pickles also. This not just for Vata people, all sort of Prakriti people are not supposed to take highly fermented foods, which in turn fermented food means it contains an organic acid called acetic acid, or the OH group will be common in that. In the organic acid will be the fermented product that slowly erode the gut mucosa. That in turn will lead to H. pylori growth, in that lead to gastric peptic ulcer disease, celiac disease, all these things kind of it can lead. So more or less it is right only, but to some extent controlled fermented food as probiotic is advised for not just Vata people, everybody can take that.
I would like to add something here, doctor.
Yes, doctor, please.
Vata people, Pitta people, Kapha people is actually just, I would say it is just marketing gimmick. There is nobody who is completely Vata, nobody who is completely Pitta, or no, Ekadoshaja Prakriti is not available these days. So what we have is all the three dosas, but in different combinations or different equilibrium levels. So there is nothing called as a Vata people. Similarly, there is nothing like a Vata food, Pitta food, or Kapha food. So if anybody tells you that, that is not right. So all foods, depending on the rasa of the food, it is going to give you different levels of the doshas. It is not directly giving you the doshas. It is going to contribute to the growth of these doshas in your body. And maintenance of these doshas in your body. It can also increase unnecessary doshas in your foods as well. So here, when fermented foods are being mentioned here, Pitta dosha, which is pathological, is going to get increased, and thereby giving you all troubles of the stomach, including peptic acid, peptic ulcer diseases. So that's what I wanted to add, doctor. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for that, Dr. Girish.
Next question is, what is your opinion about the practice of intermittent fasting? Early dinner by around 7 p.m. followed by next meal intake at 12 noon, creating a fasting of 16 hours.
This intermittent fasting, that IF with the keto diet and all, very common nowadays for those who are wanting to be a zero size, or at least to reduce the weight, which in turn I found it a little bit effective. But once you are out of this practice, immediately the weight tend to increase. Why this intermittent fasting is advised is, the pros are like you can control the fat metabolism in your body, and thereby there will be a restricted diet which can be taken at this many intervals, so that fasting of 16 hours, which means like the proper langhana will happen. But keeping on intermittently fasting for longer duration, which will cause more rukshada to the body, like more langhana will cause more dryness to the body. That means the water content or the moisten or the shining or the luster of your body will tend to reduce. So my humble advice or humble request is, they can practice intermittent fasting intermittently.
Nice advice, doctor. Thank you. So the next question is, can you also suggest foods for dysmenorrhea? The same person has asked, please suggest some remedy for severe constipation for Parkinson's patient, 85-year-old. At present, castor oil massage around navel is helping, but the problem is not totally gone. So first question is, suggest foods for dysmenorrhea. Second is severe constipation in Parkinsonism patient of 85 years.
Yes, for dysmenorrhea, I can suggest a combination of garlic and hing, asafoetida, to be can be mixed together with the mustard oil, make a small ball kind of thing, and let them consume on a daily basis along with food, or giving them continuously this Pushyanuga churna as some. I can suggest this Pushyanuga churna on a regular basis at night. If they can consume with honey or milk, will help in reducing, controlling dysmenorrhea. And there will be so many other factors associated with painful menstruation, and that has to be systemically, if there is any hormone related issues, that has to be managed by that. And avocado could be a good suggestion in that case. Avocado juice, once in 3 days, consuming 1 glass of avocado juice without sugar will help in controlling that pain, because it contains large amounts of vitamin E in it, which in turn regulate the hormonal imbalance, and thereby it will regulate unusual muscle cramps also. And for severe constipation for Parkinsonism patient, if the word severe constipation, that definitely will require some in-house therapy and or particular medications as well, which probably the castor oil based medicines will help in that. Apart from that, if there is a particular process of making takrarishtam and all, that will definitely help them. Takrarishtam can be given along with the Brihat Triphala Churna 1 time a day. That will help them to relieve from the constipation. Because why takrarishtam? Because this Parkinsonism patient, that in Ayurveda we say kambavada. That kambavada, that tremor will happen into the gut level as well. So the proper gut movement will not happen over there. The age is also a factor in that. Gut motility will be very much restricted, and that will be like a super stiff gut they will form. So this takra will have that penetrating power. Takrarishta definitely contain Trikatu and two among the Triphala, not 3. That will relieve the ama, and it will penetrate through that. And that can be little bit systemic management only, continuously virechana to be given to that patient. Trivridlehya also might help if the patient is not diabetic.
Thank you, doctor. I would suggest that if there are such doubts, it would be always great to have a direct consultation and then go forward with medications, specifically when you are going with medicines like Trivridlehya.
Yeah.
So the next question is it right to drink more water immediately after a food, or should we drink water only after some time?
Okay, this is really a controversial question, I can say. Immediately after a food, if you drink more water, that will dilute the gastric juice. So once you dilute the gastric juice, I need not to explain what will happen. The gastric juice secretion is gastric juice is secreted in that much quantity to digest the particular quantity of food. So if you dilute it, it will take more time to digest. So consuming water is always advised after few minutes of food. Say few minutes as in 10 to 15 minutes after food is highly appreciated. And otherwise, if they want to drink water, they can muhur vari pipe the bhuri. That means in between food which may not be accepted by everyone who are listening. While eating, by sip water if they can consume, that will allow the food to mix with the gastric juice. This is what my knowledge or my practical experience.
Yes, doctor. Actually, I was about to say that sloka as an addition at the end, because Ayurveda, what it suggests is that, and also it says that bhojana ante vishapradam when talking about jala. So right immediately after food, if you drink a lot of water, it is almost equivalent to poison. That's what Ayurveda suggests. But he also, I mean, Ayurveda also suggests bhojana ante chakimpeyam takram. So what can be drunk after food can be takra, that is buttermilk. This can be used. So muhurmuhu in between food, little bit sip by sip water intake can be done, and at the end of food, buttermilk can be done, can be taken immediately at the end of food. So thank you, Dr. Arun. So
one more question is, sir, can we take fermented rice in the morning during summer? That can be taken, which is a regular practice in Kerala in the olden days, and that will work like a probiotic, which is our, I can say, our Indian Desi or Kerala Desi probiotic, which we say Padanganyi, can be taken, which is very healthy, and it should be a little bit seasoned with or little bit added with buttermilk or some spices and all, will help in maintaining the digestive health as well. But only one thing to be kept in mind: after taking that fermented rice, one has to work a lot to disintegrate that energy. Otherwise, they will gain weight like anything.
Thank you, doctor. So,
okay,
wonderful advisory for all of us. Thanks a lot. Even one diet menu card may be shared, doctor, for all of us for Tamil Nadu state.
Yeah, I have shared the PPT in the PDF format.
Yeah.
In this chat box. Thanks for everyone for the kind everyone for listening for the whole presentation, and thanks a lot to Ashtanga Ayurveda for giving me this opportunity.
A few more comments have come up, doctor. Thank you. Very good advice. Wonderful patient, doctors. Kudos for an informative and interesting session. Thank you very much. Thank you, doctor. Thank you, doctor. Good session. So I think this was a very good session. Everybody present here enjoyed the session today. Thank you, Dr. Arun, for this.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
I should add that Dr. Arun is also writing regularly in the Heritage Amrit magazine of TDU, Transdisciplinary University. I have also tried twice in that in my own Shalakya department. So he keeps on writing regularly. He is very active in publications. So I would suggest that you can search his works in Google Scholar. And otherwise also Ashtanga page also sometimes we'd be if at all Dr. Arun is sharing the details with us, we would also like to share it to our patients and
definitely. Definitely. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Dr. Arun.
Thank you.
It was a wonderful session. I hope all of you have put in the feedbacks. If you have not, please take time to put in a feedback. The link is given in the chat box. I can share the link again. So here I'll do the sharing. Yeah, so I have shared it again.
Dr. Arun's presentation is also downloadable.
Downloadable. Yeah.
People can download it.
Dr. Arun's presentation has been put here in the PDF format, so you may please download it. I would ask our MD, Mr. TVS Warrior, to put in a few words.
It was very nice, Dr. Arun Bhanu.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
sure
sir.
All the participants must have had a lot of what do you call enlightenment regarding whatever they have doubts about the digestive issues. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir.
So with that, I think I would ask our executive director to say a few words on Arun Banu's, Dr. Arun Banu's presentation.
As I said earlier, it's been a wonderful session.
Thank you.
Dr. Arun,
Thank
it has
you.
been very revealing because stomach is one area where we always find problems. I am one person who has constant problems with my stomach. I'm sure I'm a very healthy person normally. I'm sure if I am healthy and I'm having problems, I'm sure most of these people who are not healthy also must be having a lot more of issues, which they may not be able to discuss openly. Maybe they don't know how to discuss it, or they find it difficult to explain what they are feeling in their stomachs. But I think most of the doubts that we had, which we were not able to communicate to a doctor, has been explained properly today. So I think we have gained a lot of knowledge in this area. So this will help us, and your slides will definitely help us go through. When we go through that, we will definitely learn much more. Whatever you have said will come to our minds when we are reading through that slides, and so it's going to enlighten us more. I'm sure it's going to be a constant reminder to us when we go through the slides. Thank you very much for sharing the slides also and
Okay,
taking
thank
time
you.
off from your very busy schedule. I know you're very, very busy as a doctor.
I
Thank
would
you.
You
like
have a
to
lot of patience.
I would like to add here that Dr. Arun Bhanu has a very active practice in Bangalore, Vidyaranepura, as well as Abhigare. When he is not busy being a senior research fellow, he is busy being a doctor in prescriptions. So he has a very active practice there. So I think, doctor, if you want to add some of your contact details, you may add in the chat box for anybody to who are interested to contact with you.
And
Yes.
anybody in the group who wants to open up and talk to Dr. Arun also, I think he would definitely welcome it. If somebody wants to talk to him. Anybody who wishes to talk to Dr. Arun can.
I would ask Dr. Lavanya to give a feedback on today's session.
Hi, I hope I'm audible.
Yes, doctor.
Yes, it was a really wonderful and an informative session, as coming not so much from an Ayurvedic or being completely new to an Ayurvedic background. I think this would be a really informative presentation. As you know, it's not about whether you are an Ayurvedic person or allopathic person. Digestion has been a problem for everyone since ages. So I think this explains a lot about how you can manage it and when you need to go seek some help. So that was really, really good and informative, and it was very short and precise, which is the highlight of the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, doctor. Thank you. I think with that, we come to the end of the session. Anybody who want to contact Dr. Arun, please, you may note his contact details, which is in the chat box. So
We have Shankaran Unni here, who is from Canada. He can probably share some few words about what his understanding is of today's session.
yes, please, sir.
And I have one question to Dr. Arun. Dr. Arun, you mentioned about some medicine for dysmenorrhea. The person wants to know what that medicine is.
Okay, that Pushyanuga Churnam is what we usually give. Pushyanuga Churnam.
Okay, I forgot.
Mr. Shankaran, can you please put in a few words?
Shankaran Unni is not available. Okay, anyone else who wishes to share something? Dr. Tinax. Josephine. Anybody who wishes to ask a question? Okay, if everything is through, everybody is okay with it, then we can close the session.
Yes, please. So thank you, everybody, for taking time to spend a few precious minutes with us for this session today. Thank you, Dr. Arun, for taking away your time and giving us such a wonderful presentation.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Have a great evening, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.